Hey guys, welcome. I am going to do today a YOLO stream of the new patch notes for just the multiplayer. Just figured I'm gonna look through these carefully, anyways. Might as well share some of my opinions and with you all. So yeah, I'm gonna hop into it in a second. They split it into two today, and it looks like. One second. It looks like it's broken into two posts, but today there wasn't much in the other one, so we'll just go ahead with the one here that I've already pulled up. I'm just gonna post this. Okay, and so just setting a couple things up. Yeah, so we're gonna look over the patch notes. I'm not gonna go into the campaign stuff. I don't know anything about campaign. But yeah, so I guess the big thing was that Graveguard halberds are being released. Their stats look kind of in line with some of the other Graveguards. We'll see how impactful they actually are. I don't see what their bonus first large is here, so we'll have to check that out later. A couple of the maps got basically more trees or more natural trees. Some changes for modding. There was a couple things here in the where was it? Wasn't in this one. It was a little bit lower. Yeah. Let's see. These are pretty funny. That these like water pools don't apply terrain effects, because that's actually really like a frustrating thing to deal with when you're making maps. But where was it? So they've added the unit caps to kind of fix the pigmen Kislev blob cheese, which is a good improvement. It's something small. The conquest mode has been increased to 650. I just played in the Total War faction tournament, or the Turin faction tournament this weekend, and at 500 the tickets definitely felt too low, so this is a good change. And then this map is pretty fun to play on. It's been added to the pool a couple times. It's kind of unique. Not my favorite map, but it's not terrible. And yeah, and then we'll go into these changes. This encourage aura is, I guess, a good thing, because it's kind of like a hidden stat where it's like you don't realize that some units are granting eight leadership, which is pretty inconsistent, and the heroes and lords gain only 3. In like Shogun Total War, for example, this was much bigger, so you would really like it'd be impactful to have heroes close to your units, but now it's like such a small thing. I would even increase that more, honestly. Like it would be cool to have more impactful leadership bonuses. But a big thing is that I guess they're trying to balance the chariots. I don't know if how relevant that's going to be. I pulled up the like for these example ones I pulled up. So they said that the small chariots with 1,000. I think these were like 800 mass. These ones were like 1,200 mass. These ones were already 2,000, and I didn't check these ones. So maybe this is impactful, maybe not, but maybe it's just going to be a good thing to like have a baseline to improve chariots on after that. This seems useful. The flying charge. So basically, they're like fixing this transition from air to ground, because you can always see sort of like there's like a weird performance where like if a unit charges straight from the air, it does a lot more damage than if it charges from like the air and then it's on the ground for a bit before it attacks. So that's nice. Seems like they're working on that. And then some things that they've said they're going to fix in the future, the like double triple hit thing. So I think this happened to me in a game recently against dwarves, where my chariots, my Kislev chariots got maybe even triple hit, because they took 50% damage from one volley of cannons. So can be a pretty frustrating bug. And then I guess this is still like this was something you'd see a lot in the airship, where it would just pass through the airship. So maybe that's what they're fixing there. But yeah, looking at the patch notes themselves, we're going to go into this. There's a lot, and I haven't looked at all of these yet, so we'll be kind of looking at them together. And we'll just be talking about them one at a time. So Gotrek, this is fine. I don't think it's a big deal. For the Beastmen, just making sure there wasn't any hidden things up here. I didn't think there was. Yeah, okay. So for the Beastmen, I don't really understand this change. Like, this doesn't feel necessary, but maybe it's just like it's incorrectly done. But maybe not. I don't necessarily agree with that change. Centaurs of Tzeentch getting basically like a 10% increase. That feels correct. Obviously this unit's kind of overperforming for a few like hidden stats. Pestigors, 25 gold and -4 melee attack. This feels like a good change. Is it enough? Maybe. Pestigors are, again, like they have poison and an extra large health pool, I think, as well as AP. They definitely were overcosted, so that's nice. Razorgore chariots, I'm gonna have to, like, all of the chariot changes, I'm gonna have to play around with them to see how they actually feel in the patch, because I'm not gonna be able, like, I've never felt that chariots, like, their performance were really well reflected in the like values that they have. So I'm not really going to comment on the chariots changes, because like I have no idea if this is going to be impactful or not. So it'll be interesting to see how they do. But I think generally the collisions are somehow related to like weapon damage. So that relationship is going to be important for how they actually perform. I always feel like chariots should do like most of their damage on the collision, and much less when they're still in melee. Like, I always feel like if they're in melee, they should be doing poorly. They should just be able to get in and out of melee. Like, they should just be like a cycle charging unit, basically. Bestigor is like, honestly, I can't even remember. Like, I can't even remember this unit. Let's see. I'm just gonna look at it real quick. So Bestigor has, it's the armored one. So it's getting a little bit of speed. Like, I don't know, maybe this is impactful. This doesn't feel impactful at all. I don't think this is gonna vastly fix or improve the unit. Centaurs, this doesn't really feel like enough, honestly. Both of these Centaurs getting like small token increases, like, maybe that's okay. Maybe that'll be enough to make them feel less oppressive, but I think this is this faction will still be very Centaur heavy even with these cost increases. Cygors maybe finally getting a little bit of love. I think this is a good change. That unit is kind of not doing much, and I think it doesn't need a huge change either, so this might be enough. Again, Bestigor is getting slightly increased speed. I don't even understand, like, it's such a small change, like two speed. Like, I don't, this almost doesn't feel worth writing down, but yeah, I could be wrong. Yeah, some increases to the ROR. That's interesting. I wonder why they gave this one more damage as opposed to the other one. But yeah, that's cool to see. So Bretonnia, Grail Guardians, all of these units that are really strong in, like, especially land battle seem to be getting nerfs, which is good. Yeah, Grail Knights getting health nerfs, so I think that's fine. Bretonnia doesn't really feel like a faction that particularly needs a lot of nerfs, but maybe it's the case that like some of their base units could be increased, could be buffed, and the faction would feel a little better. This is actually kind of a big nerf, because like it doesn't seem like much gold, but it's 25% increase on like a unit that was only worth bringing when it's cost effective. So maybe this makes a big difference, maybe not. But big difference is probably an exaggeration. Questing Knights kind of suck. That's good that they're getting a little bit of a buff, but it's not their AP, which is interesting because that's like their thing, is that they're AP Knights. Yeah. Okay, Chaos Dwarves. Let's see. Okay, so a little bit of buffs for Chaos Dwarves are always nice as a Chaos Dwarf player. Let me just check the comments every now and then, just make sure that, whether or not people are writing things. But for Chaos Dwarves, yeah, this feels good. I don't know. I like that. I think I'm having a hard time saying that I don't like anything in this. Yeah, these things are like too expensive. They're like the ROR. They're the ROR. The Wolf Riders, I think. Let me just double check if they're the ones with bows. There's one that has the. Yeah, they're missile cav, but they're just like the regular hobgoblins, so they're a little bit better in cost. I think that's a good idea. They always felt too expensive. Demonsmith Sorcerer 500. Okay, I'm gonna just pull up for a second. The Demonsmith Sorcerer is it's the character. It's the hero sorcerer. So the base hero sorcerer is getting a 50 gold decrease. Okay, well that's strange. Lamasu is getting 500 health. That's good. Lamasu's kind of suck. I don't know if this is going to be enough to make them not suck, but so they're getting about 800 health. That could be useful, but it's still pretty low, like relative to other things in that weight class. So a bunch of the Lamasu's getting buffs. Z10 has a little bit more HP on the Lamasu. That's interesting. The archers are getting 140, so that's pretty useful because there are a lot of other archers that are about 140. So like that little 10, it means that you'll be like more in range with other archers, which means that you don't lose those range fights as easily. So that's good. I think they're still a little expensive, honestly, but that's fine. Orc laborers getting 50 gold less. That could be really good. I'm not sure still if this unit's going to be worth bringing, but it's definitely worth considering now. That's a pretty big, again, I like to calculate these as like percent changes. So that's like a, 20%, almost 20% decrease, almost 25% decrease. So that's pretty important, but whether or not this unit still sucks is to be determined. Kadai Destroyer, like, I'm really excited to see if Kadai Destroyers actually does anything, but it's funny that it says added collision attack, so it didn't have any collision attacks so far, which is pretty insane in my mind. I would think that every large monster has some form of collision attack, so the fact that it might not have had it at all to begin with is really questionable. Oh, and here's the Lamasu change. They got 800 and then spell resistance. So I guess that could be like kind of niche beneficial, but like I always feel like spell resistance is not like an incredibly useful stat. But if you're worried about your opponent bringing some sort of like spirit leech or some sort of sniping for your lord, maybe that could be useful. Dreadcake Mortar, I just hate this unit. At 200 gold less, it's still not worth bringing, unfortunately. But it's interesting that the combined one is 400 gold less. Like, how did that? I'm not sure how that math works out. But yeah, still not a great unit. I would need like another 200, 300 gold. I think what it really needs is accuracy. because it's not very accurate. And then when it's on the trains, it like shoots itself and then it slows itself down. So yeah, so I'm not impressed with the Dreadquake changes. I'm still not going to use that unit. Overall, I guess I'll just say like I'll do a couple thoughts at the end of the going through them. So Beastmen, good nerfs, maybe not enough. But in general, I feel like these are nice balance changes. For Bretonia, I would say for Dom specifically, Bretonia will probably be a little weaker, unfortunately, because they're not that strong to begin with. Chaos Dwarves a little bit stronger, but I feel like mostly unchanged. But I mean, this Orc Laborers things could be a big impact, and the Kadai Destroyer could be a big thing. So yeah, maybe Chaos Dwarves will see a little bit of a bump. Demons of Chaos, so my recent favorite faction. So for demons, okay, so we have Demon Princes from the Walk roster. Interesting. So more lords. Wow. Interesting. Okay, so I do know that the Demon Prince of Tzeentch is better than the Demon Prince on the current doc. So let's see. Hold up. Let's see if it's the same thing. So no, it's the Slanesh demon. So Caress the Dark Princeling has Paragon of Excess, but on the walk roster, I don't know why it says walk roster. It should mean the Demon Princes from the Warriors of Chaos roster. Okay, so what are they talking about? Because there aren't... Oh, okay, so it's this Demon Prince category. I didn't even know that you could bring a Demon Prince on walk. Okay, so it's not the ones that I thought it was. It's not the Demon Prince from the Tzeentch roster. I guess this is beneficial. It looks like there's more stuff. I'd have to look into like what all these do. But it looks like it's always nice having more lords for Demons of Chaos, because then you can do a lot more with it. The regular Demon Prince is really not impactful. This is like practically never worth bringing. And then Arcolex Prince of Fury. Which one is that? I don't even remember that being a lord. I don't... Oh, okay. It's just the... It's like with the Demon Prince copy. That's not very... Again, not very impactful. So, no idea what this is for. Caress the Dark Princeling decrease. I actually like Caress. I bring Caress on occasion because he has like anti-large, but he was a little too expensive to bring most of the time, so that's a nice change. Strange that it's like this is the only change that they did, and Fiends were untouched. So yeah, that's kind of surprising, but it is what it is. Dark Elves. So Dark Elves, Doomfire Warlocks getting 100 gold decrease. That's good. Crone Hellbrand getting a buff. That's good too. More buffs on the Cauldron. Buffed on the Manticore. Bloodrack Shrine decreased. This was kind of a weird thing that like Turin and some other players were requesting. There's a buff on the shrines, and why it's kind of weird to me is that the shrines already have the Medusa, and they also have like an aura. Not only do they have the Medusa, but they also have like a extended angle of fire. So yeah, the Bloodrack Shrine actually gives +7 melee attack, +4 leadership, and gives to the opponent -4 and -7. So melee defense. So it's actually a pretty significant aura. I think at the price that it will be, it actually might be useful to bring. But hard to say. It still doesn't do any damage in melee, so you would have to be like putting it in guard mode, or like I guess that's the trade-off, right? If it's in melee, it's not doing anything except for giving the buff. So very situational and maybe worth it. Cold One Knights have kind of sucked. The fact that they got a slight decrease in their melee attack and a slight increase in their melee, I don't understand that, but the HP is probably good. And then the Assassin, a little bit of increase. A little bit more damage for the Scourge Runner for the Chariot mounts. Okay, I guess that's kind of an ambiguous change. I think Scourge Runners still need a little bit of loving, but fine for now. Demon Slayer, we got decreases, double nerf. Dragon Slayer, double nerf. I mean, I think this is honestly still not enough. This needs more. It needs to be more expensive too. It can't just be like uber cost effective anti-large characters. Yeah. Thunderbarge gets increased again, 200 extra gold. I think that's fine. I think where it is like relatively good now. I don't think you need to worry about it so much. An order increase for the number of bolt throwers. Oh, so I guess overall for the Dark Elves, I guess a little bit of an improvement. I would say this faction is probably like in a good place right now. People aren't playing them right now, but I think that's doesn't have so much to do with like their relative strength. I think they'll be okay. Dwarves. So for the bolt throwers, you've decreased the health of each individual bolt thrower, as well as reducing the number of crew members manning the bolt throwers. The reload time of each bolt thrower has also increased. So that's the biggest, for me, that's the biggest increase. So 5 on almost 15, this is like a 30%, 40% nerf. So this feels like this should be impactful. I don't know if you needed to do these other things, the hit points and but yeah, there's a really high number of hit points for an artillery unit. I don't know how this is particularly useful. I'm not really sure like why they did the crew entities thing. Iron Drinks. Oh, this is the R Iron Drakes. They get a little bit more effective range, a little bit more accurate. Rangers with great weapons are cheaper. Rangers with great weapons. So why did they do that? I guess that's fine. This is the missile strength one. This unit can be very good if used in the right way, but it's very niche. It's like throwing axes one. Maybe this is useful, but whether or not dwarves needed it. Flame cannons getting a little bit more accuracy. I like flame cannons a lot. I think I'll actually start using them more often. And with a little bit more accuracy, I guess this unit could be pretty good. Thanes increased in value. I think this needs like 100 gold more. I think their Demon Slayers need 100 gold more. Just like Hero Hammer, it's just so unfun to play against. But Quarrelers with great weapons, slight decrease. I mean, I think that's fine too. I don't think that's that big of a deal. Okay, this is the big one. Fire while moving is removed, so now they can't mindlessly shoot I was complaining about that in an earlier stream. And ammo decreased, that's another good one, because they just feel like they have infinite ammo. Like they can kill how many Zygarde in one. Melee damage decreased, very, very good. They should never have had such good melee stats. This is a shooting unit. Base explosion damage decreased, so decreased weapon strength. Yeah, this feels like really good changes. This feels like it actually might put gyros in like a good spot. I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic that the shitty gyro is gonna be no longer. Brimstones with more ammo, that's good. Yeah, decreasing the melee strength, good. Extended roster unit, gyro bombers, no fireball moving. I think these are just the extended ones, so yeah, not impactful. So yeah, these feel like really nice changes. Some curious things about increasing some of their other units, but I like that I think they did a good job with the bolt throwers. It should. Oh man, stream's cutting out for some reason. I haven't had this happen before. Let's see. I'm just running a speed test. My internet's been a little strange this week. There's a slight chance that I get knocked out. If that's the case, maybe I'll finish the stream later. It looks okay for now, but not great. Anyways, we'll just keep going, and if that happens, it happens. Yeah, I think Dark Elves are going to be not great, but I think they're like in the middle, honestly. I don't think there's any reason to think that they shouldn't be like a mid-tier. But Empire, Demogryphs get a little bit of a buff. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Like, yes, this unit underperforms, but Empire has so many other good things. Let's see if they get hit where they need to be. The Halberd units, which get taken a lot more than the regular units, a little bit stronger melee defense, a little bit decrease. I'm a little wary of this change as well. Like Demogryph Knights, strong Demogryph Knights are not really what I want to see from Empire, but hopefully they do okay. And the ROR one gets Glorious Charge. That could be pretty fun, actually. Just like a really strong demi. I'm not even sure if Empire can bring that in regular, if it's extended roster. No, it's regular. Yeah, that's cool. Maybe they'll have one really strong. Maybe that'll be like an auto take. Did they get Glorious Charge too? No, just the ROR. I think just the ROR one got it. But yeah, that's pretty funny. That should be strong. I obviously I don't know the roster well enough. I don't know if those are extended roster units. But those are Empire Knights with ROR, Empire Knights with great swords. Yeah, not like in the base. Archer unit, a little bit better archers. That's fine. I don't think anyone would object to that. A little bit better Death Jacks. Volkmar, a little bit stronger. A little bit better. Probably still sucks, honestly, on his big thing. Then ROR Flagellants. So I don't use this unit ever. Right now it has physical resistance and melee defense, and it's getting one more melee attack. Interesting. That's a big deal. Reichsguard gets a cost increase. That seems weird to me. I guess this unit is okay, but compared to the Knights of the Black Rose, the Knights of the Black Rose just seems better than it by a lot in every dimension. So why would this get a buff? Oh, sorry, this got a buff. That's fine. But nothing here for the Knights of the Black Rose. I feel like Knights of the Black Rose really needs a nerf. If you like compare them next to the Reichsguard unit, they have 19 more melee defense and 2 more melee attack. They lose charge bonus, sure, but they get bonus versus infantry of 8 and 600 HP. So compared to like the surrounding units, like Knights of the Blazing Sun, for example, it's like I don't know. I always feel like you're almost always better just bringing Knights of the Black Rose. So for steam tanks and land ship, also hey Lahoot, good to see you. Steam tanks can no longer fire its cannon in melee. That's a good thing, but it's still gonna have the one on top, right? I think it's gonna have the one on top. So this is the bottom one, but it's not gonna have the top one. So that's like part of the problem, but not like a huge problem. I hope that they actually did fix it possible to hit it in the rear, because that's one of the worst parts of like a OP unit. I think these are not gonna be enough to make a significant difference. But yeah, overall, I would say Empire is looking pretty neutral after this set of changes. They got mostly buffs, and then like some small changes to the steam tank and the land ship, but like I don't think this is going to be enough to make them not oppressive multiplayer. So I don't think this is going to be enough, but we'll see. Cathay, what I want to see from Cathay is like non-expendable peasant spears, just so that we can have more capture weight with Cathay. But yeah, okay, so let's look at Grand Cathay real quick. Grand Cathay for the Celestial General gets Fear. Okay, great. Astromancer on the Great Moonbird. I guess the Great Moonbird is getting a small decrease in cost. I think this is not enough, honestly. I think this unit still needs more. I definitely feel like the changes this time around have been very conservative. They probably would have doubled this, or even tripled this cost decrease. I don't think this unit. It also like doesn't fix a problem on the Grand Cathay roster. It's not like something that particularly they could use. I mean, it's like very situational, but it's just like it's like a fast Phoenix-like unit, but it doesn't do that much damage. It's not AP. It doesn't hold ground. It's not an infantry, so yeah, I mean, like this still feels like you wouldn't want to bring it. Small increases, again, these don't feel like enough, but it's good to see. So Grand Cathay is still going to be at the bottom of the tier list for me. Unfortunately, they're like still not getting what they need. Greenskins, I would say we have a bunch of greenskins things. Okay, Ground Punch, AP ratio is now mostly AP. Maybe this makes him a little better. Splash attack, knockback, force multiplier. Splash attack, knockback, force multiplier. I don't know what that means. Maybe Grom's a little better. He at least has a niche now of like being a AP chariot. Rogue Idol. I guess that's good. I always think that these changes are kind of ambiguous, but I suppose that means that he'll do more damage. So I guess that's good. Debigon gets a little bit better. I think that's also good. Feral Wyvern's cheaper. Seems like a good change. eight pink loonies got a 10 gold decrease. A 10 gold decrease. This is pretty ridiculous. Uh, I guess why they're doing this is because it makes the spends more even. So I think it's less to do with the monetary increase or decrease and more that it just balances it out. Yeah, Chimabu, I agree that the like peasant horse archers, peasant swordsmen, those kind of things would be nice. But we'll probably have to wait a long time before we get any more content for Cathay. But yeah, they really need like one more infantry. Otherwise, they just feel like they're missing like a big gap in their roster, especially for Dom. Yeah, Azag. I guess that's good. Leech Lord was complaining about them being too expensive. Azag's mount is too expensive, so I guess this is fine. I like Azag sometimes, so I guess that's good. Then Wyvern mount, a little bit decreased. Orc Boys, again, just to make the spend a little better, I think. Yeah, I mean, these feel good for greenskins, nothing overpowering. Nothing. I guess we're still waiting for the DLC, which will drop pretty soon. So this is a good, like, maybe tide over until then. Not many changes, but enough perhaps to set them up for when they get more units. Oh man, High Elves, a lot of changes. High Elves, ITP on Phoenix Guard makes sense to me. ITP on ROR and contact effects. Lotharian, slight decrease. I mean, sure. I don't really think that's necessary, but it's fine. It's tiny. Techless, tiny buff. Rangers. Not a big buff, but a buff. I think that's good. They probably don't need much sauce, but a little bit helps. Arcane Phoenix. Fine. I guess that's good. I don't know how I ever feel about War Lions. I feel like they're strong for what they do on the roster. So maybe not welcome, but it's not a huge change. So not a big deal to me. Lions, again, this is kind of the let's buff the chariots. This is the one of these is the one that Turn complained about. So yeah, actually, so in all of these, a slight increase for the Phoenixes. So in all of these, I would say there's a whole lot of just like small improvements, but nothing like pretty major. So I feel like that's kind of been the name of this patch. It's like a lot of small things, very cautious and like trying not to overbuff anything. So I think that's maybe the result of using the community suggestions as opposed to doing like bigger changes that that CA does. In some ways it's good in the sense that it's like careful and it doesn't like drastically change the meta. On the other hand, it's kind of unexciting. Like a lot of these actions will play the exact same way as they did before. So there's no like real, and sometimes it's fun to have a little bit of imbalance too. Like it doesn't have to be perfectly balanced for like a meta to be interesting. I'm just seeing what Shimbamu says. Tomb King Carrions were cheaper and they didn't fix the Altharian's barrage. Dude, that thing was so funny. They like buffed it, nerfed it, buffed it. They're like, okay, we made a mistake. Corn. Let's hope we get a little something more for Corn. So they're another of the factions coming up. So Exalted Hero of Corn, a stat decrease. Okay, that's strange. But fine. Yeah, I mean, I don't really understand. This unit's not that like useful. I wouldn't say it's not good, but it's not that useful. in Dom at least. Herald of Corn. So the Blood Thrones. I guess the Blood Thrones are getting a buff. Let me just double check that. Maybe not. Maybe it's just this. So maybe it's just this Herald. So getting more weapon strength, more armor piercing damage by quite a lot. Less bonus versus infantry and fewer. So maybe this unit will actually be useful, but we'll have to see. Similar things for the Blood Throne single entity that we're getting a little stronger. Reworked attack zone data to make the unit more reliable in melee. Interesting. Oh, okay, here it was. So the Blood Shrines did get buffed. The Blood Shrines... Oh, sorry, the Blood Shrine and the Blood Throne. So just to verify, they're two different units. The Blood Shrine is the one that shoots, and the Blood Throne is the one that doesn't shoot, I think. Blood Shrine, yeah, because it's the mount. So the Blood Shrine got a little... They both got buffs. I think this is going to be good. Wait, so Skull Cannon is the... Okay, now I'm confused. Okay, so the Blood Shrine doesn't shoot. The Skull Cannon shoots. But they both got similar buffs, so I think that's good. I know there's some people who really like those units, but they're like really hard to use. I think also, I'm gonna guess they would also want to have a little bit of a leadership buff, because those units seem to crumble pretty easily. I see, Chimbambu. That makes sense that all of the Exalted Hero squads were a little too strong. I think that's true broadly, but their costs differ a lot. I don't think they have like consistent costing, because on a horse, the Corn one is 1,000, and on the on a horse, okay, it was not that bad, but the Exalted Hero Zinch is 1050, so not as bad as I thought, but there is a little bit of a cost difference. Yeah, armor on the Bloodbrute Behemoth. I said it in the Beastman. I don't think this is necessary. Like, I don't know why you would take like a super strong monster and make it a little tankier. I mean, I like super strong monsters, but like this feels a little unnecessary. Gore Beasts, we'll see if Gore Beasts are still any like worth bringing. Probably not. Forsaken of Corn, get a little bit of HP. That's nice. Maybe they're almost finally in a spot where you can actually use them effectively for something. Bloodthirster, a little bit of anti-large, a little bit of weapon damage. Mino's got a little bit of cost increase, which I think is okay. I think that's not a big deal, but the anti-large ones didn't, which is kind of unusual. Maybe they meant to do both. So the anti-large ones are 1,300, and the regular ones are also 1,300. So weird that they nerfed one but not the other. Yeah, I mean, like, I look forward to the Bloodthirster changes. Like, I think that those are good. Probably doesn't need that much of a... It probably needs, like, a cost decrease or something. But, yeah, so... Corn, again, about the same. Maybe change a little bit the way that they're played, which is fine. And I think maybe a little bit better off throughout all of this, especially with, like, if these... chariot changes are impactful, then it might make a big difference. Man, these patches are so long. I need to speed up. There's so much to read. Ugh. I see. So they didn't give it armor because they forgot for the Mark of Corn. And they did the same with the Berserker Arwar. I mean, that makes sense to me. But whether or not the unit actually needed it is to be determined. All right, Zarina's sled, maybe a little less OP. Kiss the Light Warriors, like I think they needed more than 25. I'd put them at 550 and say that maybe they're okay. The brawlers, they like can't get the splash attacks right on Streltsy. They've been dealing with this for like 3 or 4 patches. Frostworm got a nerf. Oh, but it got collision attacks, so maybe it's a little better now. I don't think this is needed. Things in the Woods are like pretty squishy. This doesn't feel like the right unit to nerf, or at least not the right way to nerf it. But sure, that's whatever. Horse Archers, slight increase. I think that's fine. Cosplay Dervishes, sure, again, not a big deal. I don't use this unit that often, so it's not going to impact me except when they nerf the other calf, but like I think that's fine. Heavy war sleds are a little bit more expensive. Like, I don't even think this is like relevant to the meta of how Kislev has played, so like this just feels a little unnecessary. So they decrease the size of it, which means that the chariots won't push through units that easily. And what's funny about that is, if you remember, Chimbambu, the way that I lost to you was my chariots got stuck in your infantry. So it's funny that they were like, you know what, this unit needs more ability to get stuck. So I think that's pretty funny. But I mean, I guess I understand. I don't feel like these are the why Kislev is oppressive. I think Kislevite warriors are a big part of why they're oppressive, and like they're cost effective. Everything else, yeah, like this is not. I mean, I guess this is useful for like, especially like in land battles. I think people. The elemental bear getting some collision attacks. Hopefully, it's not garbage anymore. But it's so interesting that like some of these large monsters didn't have collision attacks before, and that's probably why they seem so bad. Just like they hit something and they don't do any damage. That which makes a lot of sense. So yeah, Kislev. I didn't think that Kislev were so in such a strong place by the end of the season, after people had kind of figured them out, that they needed really heavy nerfs. I think they didn't get really heavy nerfs, so I'm cautiously optimistic that this is enough to put Kislev in the right place. I think what also happened last season was that a lot of the top players were playing Kislev, and so like you would put them against players that were not top players, and then Kislev would win, and you'd be like, oh, it's Kislev. Kislev's so strong. And they were strong enough to have, like, I don't know, a 5-10% bonus over the other factions, but because people were so, like, the strong players were playing them, that it, like, made it look a little bit more inflated. And I think it wasn't until the end of the season that players actually, like, understood how to play against them. So, and then like top players would dodge each other playing Kislev because they thought that the faction was so strong. But I think Kislev is probably in a good spot now. But we'll see. I mean, people are going to flock to them again. And then like maybe a similar thing is going to happen where people are like, Kislev is so strong. But yeah, I think people also need to like learn how to play against Kislev. And I think they're kind of getting there. So, okay. For Lizardmen, 50 gold decrease. That's actually nothing. A little bit of it, melee defense, a little bit of a buff, a little bit of a buff, a little bit of buff. Yeah, these units might be worth bringing out. Are they going to be like super busted? No. But are they going to maybe make a little bit of an impact? Yeah, they could too. Yeah, more similar changes. Croak got a little bit of a decrease. Sure, like I never see Croak. The reason that you never see Croak is because other forms of magic are so cost effective, and you have to bring a lord if you're going to bring Croak. Oh, and I guess you can't unselect his spells, which is kind of interesting. I don't know. Maybe Croak is worth considering, but he's still very costly. But for low AP spells, yeah, I mean, Croak is probably worth considering, honestly. Even before he was probably worth considering. Gorok, I can like barely remember who Gorok is. I think he's the one that I always confuse with Grokkar. Gorok, he is a very high melee defense skink. Right. Very niche. I think he's been brought against me one time, so maybe that's a good change. Nakai, all his units in the army, the woodsman ability attribute. That's interesting. Maybe not useful. Or maybe not that useful. Oh, in campaign. Campaign only. Okay. Another thing in campaign. He gets Vanguard deployment, Woodsman, and Terror. I mean, I think Terror is good. It's nice to have... That's Krokkar, right? No, that's Nakai. My Nakai blob. So the fact that Nakai on its own gets Terror might be fun to bring Nakai a couple more times, but a little bit more melee or missile damage resistance. He's okay. He's not terrible, but he's not great. Maybe worth bringing. Bring a Nakai Croak combination. How about that? This will be the patch for those two. Garruk is a Saurus. He's the defender of Itza. Okay. He's small though. I guess that's what I'm saying. He's a small fighter. Like his size is small, so I just assumed he was a skink. But that's good to know that he's a Saurus. Shredder of Lustria got 1K. Are you kidding? Why? Why is the Shredder of Lustria get 100 gold increased? That doesn't make any sense to me. It's already like prohibitively expensive, and they were like, that unit needs a nerf. All right, fine. I mean, it's still a small nerf relative to the overall cost, but this unit's already cost like half your army, so whatever. Skink Oracle. Okay, that's like the Troglodon. So my build that I was just streamed on turns, I would have been 0 with these two changes. So that's something. The Coatl got collision attacks. So again, all of these monsters that seemed like they sucked just didn't have collision attacks, and that's something that we all noticed, but we didn't know what the words for it were. But yeah, so maybe that makes a big difference. Who knows? I think the collision attacks depend a lot on animations still. So even if it had collision attacks, it might still depend on the animations, the speed, the mass. So it could be useful. Could not be enough of a fix. Troglodon. I mean, I think you even need 100 gold off this unit, but maybe it's worth considering. The Troglodons are the ones that shoot the anti-large, I'm pretty sure. So they're currently at 1600. They have really good anti-large missile strength, but for some reason it never feels like it. I'm not sure if that's just because of like that's like a incorrect perception, or if that's like a real thing, but I don't know. Maybe that unit's worth playing with a little bit more. But I mean, these aren't big changes either way, so it's like it's not going to be the deal maker. So Krokgar, that's the one that I kept saying that all the other lords were. He's anti-large. He has 30 anti-large. He actually has decent stats, but not that much HP. And he has Hand of the Gods. So he's getting 200 gold less. I think that's good. It makes him a little bit more playable. Like a 900 gold anti-large lord with good stats, like that's probably worth doing. Oh, so Krokgar is also a Saurus. Okay, so I'm mixing up all my Sauruses with my dude, I don't even remember what Nakai is called, but yeah, all my little ones with my big ones. Croxuors, I guess, or he's like a sacred or an ancient Croxuor. I didn't even know Krokgar had a mount. Okay, I'm learning about this faction today. I just like, oh, it's the Carnosaur. Okay. Cool. Krokgar is a Carnosaur. On the cold one, I have seen him on a cold one and a horned one before, so maybe those are actually good. Be interesting to see, play around with those a little bit. Maybe this makes it a little bit more beneficial. A little bit cheaper in the Carnosaurs. Carnosaurs still probably suck. Yeah. So a lot of changes for the Lizardmen, but like none of them feel super impactful. Mostly just small things, and yeah, like maybe the red crested string. So mostly the same. Maybe slightly better. Hard to say. Again, not the most exciting of changes, honestly, on the Lizardman roster. Seems like that's still kind of the theme of this patch, like mostly small stuff. So I think I'm just gonna like speed up a little bit if things don't seem particularly exciting, like a bunch of little small changes. Oh my god, Norsca got a lot of changes. Yeah, like there's so many changes for some of these factions, so I'm just gonna skip to the ones that seem impactful and not talk as much about the ones that are not impactful. So yeah, so War Mammoth, sure. Berserkers, okay, that's strange. They got a walk speed buff. Interesting. The Frost Dragon. Dude, I don't even... They have a Frost Dragon on their roster? I guess this is the thing, that like this patch is trying to buff the things that people don't know exist because they're like not worth bringing. Oh, it's just the Frost Dragon is the it's like the worm. I just didn't realize it was called that. Oh, because they changed the name. That's right. They changed the name recently. So Berserk likes this unit. He'll be happy about that. I don't know if Norsca like needed this, but I think that's fine. Sure. Okay. Interesting. Maybe good. Who knows? Marauder Chieftain, whatever. Base Marauders getting a buff. Even though it's a small buff, it's like a pretty important unit, so maybe it's bigger of a deal. Even though this unit's not incredibly good. Brutes of the Hound. Good, I guess. Fine. Not relevant. Kilgore Slaymane. Not relevant. Nausicaa, probably the same, maybe a little bit better. Mostly the same. Okay, so Rot Beasts getting more mass. I guess that's fine. I didn't know that this was a particular problem, but I guess that's okay. This is good. I like that. Like Nurgle's not the roster that should have the most like melee attack units, right? Like that's not Nurgle's thing. Yeah, these are good. Good. Same thing. Marauders of Nurgle also get a little bit of a buff. I think that's fine. Like, these weren't the best as well. Good, I guess. I think that's fine. Angels of Decay getting charge bonus. This is not a good change. I don't think they needed this. Angels of Decay were already pretty good in melee, so now with extra charge bonus, I don't think this was a good change. Rot Knights. Yeah, I mean, I think that's good. I didn't agree with Turin that I thought that the Rot Knights needed a cost decrease, but the ROR one probably did. Like 2400 is as much as like a feral a feral, what do they call it? Stegodon? The ones on the Lizardman roster. Yeah, feral Saurian. It didn't need like this unit was not as good as a feral Saurian. So this is like a good cost decrease. Very high leadership. That unit is never going to rout, and the funny thing about that is because they heal, this unit probably did just become a lot better. Like, just these two changes alone probably just made that unit super strong. But along with extra armor with the mass, that's probably going to be a really good unit. You probably see it a lot more now. So Kazik, a little bit more mass. Not really sure who that is. Tamarkan, cheaper, that's nice. Got collision attacks, interesting. I don't know how that's going to impact it. Decreased to splash attacks, turn speed increased. Okay. Oh, on his... Oh, that's right. Because they increased the... they're buffing the plague toad, or the toad dragons. So, yeah, that could be really impactful. Interesting that they they gave Tamarkan turn speed on the mount, but not the toad dragon base. Not sure what that's about. So collision attacks, this is another unit to look out for. Honestly, so far in this, it looks like Nurgle has been the faction that's come out with the most buffs. So Pestigor's already talked about the Pestigor buffs a little bit, or nerfs, sorry, and that I think this is like appropriate. It's probably the most like appropriately sized change, in my opinion. I think that unit should just be like mostly what it's for. Rotflies needed more. I think the charge bonus isn't enough to make them useful. And plague drones. I think both of these needed a little bit more loving, but not really that big of a deal. Yeah, it's this combination. Like, I want the Death Heads not to have as good melee stats, but the regulars to have good melee stats. Like, I don't think the Death Heads should just be like the missile unit of this. I think it should be like its dedicated missile unit, because it turns out that this unit is like really useful on its own. And Exalted Great Unclean One, 13k. They couldn't have done this like just before I played in the faction war and got my butt lasered. That one extra k health would have made all of the difference in my game against Alfredinho. They couldn't have made this change like just slightly sooner. But I guess this is just on the Nurgle roster, maybe not on the Doc roster. It's kind of unusual. And for sake of Nurgle getting a bit better. Great Unclean One also got health. Uncle for Uncle. Max entities decreased, so that might be useful. But yeah, so Nurgle looking a lot stronger, actually. I would be kind of surprised if Nurgle wasn't I feel like Nurgle was already kind of in the middle, but with like the extra toys that they're getting from this, I think Nurgle is going to be closer to the top now. They're still going to have some of their like issues dealing with Kite, but these changes look impactful enough to make a big difference. So interested to see how they play out and whether or not they're just overtuned. So Chimamu says that the Toad Dragons are good, but the Hero Squad and the Pestigores got nerfed. That's true. That is true. So let's see. Like the Pestigores are frontline infantry, but we did get more effective Great Weapon and Marauders to kind of balance that one out. We did lose the kind of like single entity killing power of the Chaos Sorcerers, but we got better Rot Knights, ROR Rot Knights, and a better. I guess Tamarcon's not a lot better, but let's see. I think that they're gonna be fine, honestly, and especially like Nurgle, like their Forsaken getting buffed means that some of the gaps that are currently used by Pestigores are going to be filled with things like Forsaken, things like Marauders. So I agree that those two things are change. But yeah, we'll see. I think they're still going to be I think they're going to be a strong faction. Grease's Goldtooth decreases. What were you saying about them? About Grease's? You said that Grease's has a cost decrease. Such a lame change. Okay. Yeah, fuck Grease's, man. He needs nerfs. This dude's way too strong. Nobody's still gonna pick him at 1400. Like if Grease's was 1200 or 1000, maybe people would bring him. But as it stands, like he's really bad. Like his stats don't do him justice. Like his stats suggest that he's good, and then like he's so slow. He's like, it's because he's like the worst version of a Dragon Slayer. Like a Dragon Slayer can basically move faster than Grease's because of the turn speed. Yeah. Anyways, I'm guessing they're not doing much to ogres. Ogres are getting. I can't remember if ogres are getting the DLC. I can't remember if they're the third faction. Greenskins, Khorne, and is it ogres is the third one? Yeah. Well, anyways, so maybe they're just waiting for that, but I can't remember if they're the last faction. So for Skaven, let's see, a lot of changes. So Ikit Claw. Like I don't get this. Like one changes. I mean, maybe they're just making them round numbers for some reason. But increasing the bonus for infantry for a lot, entity mass a lot. Ikit Claw with a lot of entity mass is interesting. Doom Wheel kind of the cost increased a lot. Okay, I guess you're trying to encourage us to use Doom players more often for Ikit. And yeah, it increased a little bit of mass, a little bit of damage. That's fine. And these are all like okay. And this was one of Turin's complaints. Melee defense and melee attack for the ROR. Not necessarily the regular ones, but for the ROR. Let me just pull up Skaven and just see what their special thing is. So their special thing is contaminated. They have contaminated -10. Yeah, I mean, maybe that unit's going to be pretty good now. I'm interested to see how that plays out. But did they not do that for the regular one? Let's see. Doom Flayers. decrease the melee attack and the weapon damage. But they increase the bonus versus infantry and the mass. I can't tell if that's going to be a buff or a nerf. But I'm a little afraid. I'm a little afraid of even more buffed Doomflayer, so let's just see how it turns out. But maybe they're in a more appropriate place now, but we'll have to see. Similar changes for the Arwar. I don't even know if these Doom Wheels of Doom. I've like never seen anybody bring that unit ever. So maybe it'll be good now. I'm not even familiar with the name. Interesting. So Thurrott, that's good. Thurrott needed a little bit of loving. 400 gold less on his Brood Horror. That's pretty big. Mutant Rat Ogres, maybe they'll not be so crap. And then, yeah, they put the rest of this down here. So that's, yeah, maybe that's good enough to help them. And Doom Wheels got damage. I mean, like, I don't like the idea of like a single entity chariot. Especially on Skaven, like that feels like it's gonna be like, if it's too good, it's not gonna be fun. But maybe it's in that realm where it's not to increase. So. Let's see. How many do we have more? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, and then a lot of spells. Okay, so we'll keep going kind of fast if things look not impactful. Heartseekers. I like this unit, but it's not good. Still not good, I'm guessing. Hellstriders. We can't decide where we want the Hellstriders. Just like over-nerfed, under-nerfed, over-nerfed, under-nerfed. Over-buffed, under-nerfed, under-nerfed. Then, yeah, whatever. Let's just see. A lot of damage on her. This is like the only single entity chariot that I found for the Exalted Lords that was just like straight up bad. So maybe that'd be fine. Exalted Keeper of Secrets. Okay, this is one of my favorite units. So looking at it currently, charge bonus of 40 to 70. Base weapon damage, so it's currently at 470. This is going to put it at total. This is going to put it at like 520, 530. Max enemies hit by splash attacks. I'm not sure if this is needed. This might make it worse actually, because it might be overkilling now. But this is still, I like that. This unit has always felt pretty like not as impactful as you would hope. Get next to Nakari. Herald. Okay, same buffs from before. Exalted Seeker Chariots probably still be bad, but we'll see. Nakari also got buffs. Hell yeah. I love Nakari. Nakari is actually my favorite lord in the game, but Exalted Keeper is next second. I love that he got like a huge charge bonus. That's pretty cool. And then 30 plus 10, 40. So he's at 520 now. He'll be at 560 after this. So not a huge difference. Maybe the splash attacks thing will help him be more impactful against infantry. Forsaken of Slaanesh getting a little bit of a health. I'm not sure if it'll be worth bringing, but maybe. Fiend's got a... So interesting, this is the second time a unit has gotten a nerf here, but not mentioned on the doc roster. So in the past, they've like forgotten to add it to both. But maybe this will be the same.
Maybe this will be on both. This feels right. I think they'll be fine at this HP. I don't. I think they were already like not as good as people were saying they were, but I think they'll probably be in like the right spot. So Chimabu says the splash changes on the Exalted Keeper of Secrets are good because they can splash large targets, but they could already splash large targets, and they were already very good at killing cav units. So that's kind of where I'm like uncertain of how useful this will be of a change. Oh no, my phone is blowing up, but it's nothing useful. Okay, that's great. I don't know why I'm getting all these notifications now, but yeah. So, right. Yeah, I mean it's like with the splash attacks, it's like a balance between overkill and like spreading too thin. Because you don't want to overkill, because then like if you want to make a unit more effective, you don't want to overkill. So that would mean that you increase the splash attacks. But if you do want to kill the units, so that would mean that you decrease the splash attacks. So there probably is like a little like a golden like Goldilocks area of which ones should be beneficial, or like what changes are beneficial. Oh, but that's cool that they can like kill an Empire Knight outright. Yeah, so I guess that's what I was alluding to. Like, there's like you don't want to overkill, but you do want to spread the damage. But okay, yeah, thanks for explaining that, and that rule of thumb of 100 to 1. So, Hellflayers, let's hope they're good. Who knows? Exalted Seeker Chariots. Hellflayers are the really expensive, the 1100 Chariot, not the 1100 Chariot. Like sometimes could have been situational, but it was always better, like outperformed by the Seeker Chariots. So maybe this is enough to make them worth bringing. Internal Entourage did see a little bit of use in land battles, but still like really squishy unit. And then this Keeper of Secrets getting buffs too. I think these are nice. Like I think this is like maybe all Slanesh I would say is probably staying where it was, and maybe some appropriate changes. Nothing is too nerfed, nothing is too buffed. Fiends are kind of put in line, but we get some other benefits out of it. So yeah, I mean they could be in a better place out of this, but hard to say for sure. Oh, is Slanesh? No, Slanesh is the next cycle suspected. Okay, Chariot of the Gods. We'll see. Crypt Ghouls. I didn't even know they had Crypt Ghouls in the extended roster. Carrion, a little bit of a buff. I mean, it's a sizable buff, but it's not a good unit, so I think that's appropriate. Eyes of the Desert got a little bit of a cost increase. That's fine. A little bit of a cost increase. That's fine. Skeleton Archer Chariots. Okay, yeah, that's cool. And then again, so pretty much no changes to Tomb Kings. I think that might be a mistake. I think an unnerfed Tomb Kings will be like kind of happily sitting at least in A tier. So maybe not doing a little bit of nerfs to the single entity cheese is a little unhappy, but that'll probably come out in the next patch or so. Yeah, I agree, Chimbambu. I don't think both the Necro Sphinx, people don't bring the Necro Sphinx that much, but it's also really strong. Both the Necro Sphinx and the regular Sphinx, I think, are just the War Sphinx. I think they're a little overtuned. I don't think that it leads to fun gameplay either, um, because it's like you can shoot it, you can't really kill it in melee very easily. They bring the ROR Necrosphinx plenty. Yeah, that's true. Um, yeah, so they're kind of maybe needed a little bit more, but I'm not going to go ahead and say that like this faction is going to be S tier, but it could be, honestly. But we'll see. Tzeentch, another one of my favorite factions. Exalted Lord of Change. Let me just double check which one that is. Exalted Lord of Change. So this is the expensive bird, the bird that's more expensive than Kairos. And so its current value is 2,000 and they're dropping it 300. I think that makes sense. Like, it makes sense that they, but it's also still a good unit. So I don't know if we really needed that, but yeah, I guess that's fine. Centaurs, same thing. Forsaken got a little bit of a buff. I hope Forsaken are actually like good now, but not like super overpowered or anything. It'd be fun to have like some niche for Forsaken. I feel like since the start of the game, they've barely been useful. Herald of Tzeentch on the Chariot. Herald of Tzeentch on the Burning Chariot. So are they trying to make the Burning Chariot a melee weapon? That's questionable. Maybe it's worth doing, but let's see. Burning Chariots. So the Burning Chariots, so the biggest thing that Tzeentch gets are the Burning Chariots they're a missile cav. At some point in the game, they were a Lord sniping tool. And let's see what they've done to them. They've decreased the cost. They've increased the melee attack and melee defense slightly. Increased the armor, or sorry, the weapon damage. Decreased the splash attacks. So I guess they're trying to say like, okay, now it's a chariot too. But let's see if it's actually effective at that. I don't know. Maybe that unit will be useful. So no real changes to Tzeentch. Maybe slightly stronger with the buffs. Okay, Coast. Carronades, more leadership. Mortars, more leadership. Okay, that's fine. Crew hit points decreased. Queen Bess hit points increased. Okay, so I guess if you're like attack, it'll be weaker. Leadership increased, armor increased. So I don't know. Queen Bess is still gonna miss everything, so it's still probably not worth bringing. Aranessa, small increases. Cyrene's a little bit of leadership. That's probably the most impactful change so far. Felbat's a little bit of a cost increase. So yeah, I mean, these all feel fine. Nothing in there is like particularly a big deal to me, but Zimbabwe says I'm confusing the Flamer Chariot with the Burning Chariot. The Burning Chariot. No, the Burning Chariot is the flying one. It's the Missile Chariot. The one. Yeah, Burning Chariot's a flying unit. And it's. Hold on, let me just make sure that that's what it said. Yeah, Burning Chariot. And Burning Chariot is the flying unit, the 1700 gold flying unit that is like one single entity that shoots like a flamethrower, and then is like pretty wimpy in melee. So it is the one that they're changing. And thanks for reminding me that there's still all of those spells to read. So yeah, that Zinch will probably be a little oppressive, especially if they have a cheaper lord to cast it. Will be pretty oppressive with the Gleam magic. I actually got in a little bit of like an argument with somebody in a YouTube comment about Gleam magic because they were like trying to convince me that it was bad because they like did all of the math. And I was like, dude, you can do all of the math you want, but just try it in a game with your friend and see like if it's worthwhile. And it's not very worthwhile, but it is worthwhile enough to do. But it was funny that it just like just go test it. Like you don't have to do like 4 pages of math. Just like go test it with a friend. But okay. So, God, there's a lot of DC changes. Halloween faction. Right, the thing that we needed was more HP on the zombie dragon, blood dragon lord. But yeah, okay, that's fine. All of these zombie dragons got more health. I don't think it's needed, but it's fine. This is very needed. Dude, this unit has way too low of leadership. It just like hits something and starts crumbling. I'm really glad they did this. This feels like somebody like actually knew what the faction needed. This is like the biggest reason this unit sucks. Because it'll start losing health at like a really rapid rate at like half or more health. And like as like an elite cav unit, that's just really disappointing. Okay, so charge bonus on the Black Knights with lances. Let me even check. Maybe that's an extended unit. Counts. Oh, I didn't even know there was an ROR. Okay. And it has regen. Oh, I should bring that unit. That unit's good. So it has more charge bonus now. That's cool. Helman Gorst, cheaper. Claw of Nagash, more mass. More dissension, more mass. I don't know if this is needed, but I guess it's good for the faction. I mean, like, I kind of happy with a Morris engine that doesn't push its way out of everything, but Banshees, this is a good change. Good change. Crypt Ghouls getting a nerf is a little weird to me, but they get a big hit point increase. I guess that's fine. Skeleton Spear slightly cheaper. Fellbat slightly cheaper. Okay, Black Coach. This was the one that they talked about. Leadership's increased. Strider. More weapon damage. Flaming attacks. Splash attacks to 4. The ability Black Scythes. Unholy Vigor and Black Nimbus now scale their effects depending on the number of energies that have been killed. So let me just double check what those are. I don't ever use this unit. Black Scythes is an imbuement of flaming attacks and weapon damage that activates at 40 kills. Unholy Vigor activates at 80 kills. Black Nimbus enables at 120 kills. So Unholy Vigor decreases Vigor. Black Nimbus increases damage resistance. So yeah, I mean, I guess this unit gets stronger the longer that you can have things die around it. Whether or not it's still going to do any damage is TBD. Maybe this increasing the splash attacks will make a big difference, but who knows. Okay, almost done. Yeah, 2 more and then spells. All of these little changes are exhausting to talk about. Walk, Sarthariel, the Everwatcher. Let's just pull up Walk before I... So many units on this roster. Sarthariel is the one that... It's the bird. More multiplayer cost. It's very odd to me, but extra health, more leadership, more melee attack, more melee defense, more charge bonus, more armor, more weapon damage. Okay. and added an item, the Rock of Inevitability. Huh. Okay, so maybe Sarthariel is worth bringing. It's not a bad like spell kit, but if his melee stats are pretty good. Kolick gets magical attacks. I feel like that was another faction war thing. But okay, Chaos Giant. Decreased. This is the Green Giant. The Green Giant. Sure. I mean, I'll object to that. Gore Beasts. So I guess my point about like different factions not mentioning it in the notes, like Gore Beasts have them here, but do they? But is Doc gonna get the Slanesh nerfs? Who knows? Chaos Warriors. Is this like the same from the Nurgle roster? Exalted Heroes gotten a little bit worse. Forsaken a little better. Demon Spew a little bit better. Okay. Not big changes. Walk still needs some loving, but what exactly they need, who knows. Wood Elves. Ariel now leaves butterflies and flowers wherever she goes. That's nice. Dude, I don't even know who some of these people are. Let me just check on the roster. Codils. Who is Codils? Okay, it's a Hero Treeman. So what are they doing to him? Increasing his HP, increasing his weapon strength. He has armor sundering and bonus versus large. I mean, this dude has great stats. But Treeman, I don't know. Maybe he's worth thinking about. I didn't even know that guy existed. Treeman are also getting a little bit of buffs. Treeman buffs. Our extended roster, Treeman buffs, more Treeman buffs, more Treeman buffs. So, Thurthu got a nerf, but got more HP, more melee defense, more weapon strength. Okay, so basically more Treeman buffs. Swiftsure Sar is a little bit more expensive, so again, we're still on the nerf train. And then Wildwood Rangers, I think these are the spear ones. Yeah, they're not a spear, they're an AP melee unit. 2 melee attack with some small buffs. Vanguard and Stalk. They have Stalk now. Interesting. And then, wow, that's a lot of bonus versus infantry. Wow, this unit might have just became really strong. Why did they do that? Wildwood Rangers at 900 gold? So they had bonus versus large when they're in the forest and charge defense versus large when they're in the forest. Now they're also going to have bonus versus infantry. Oh, I see. They've changed this. Now it just gets more melee stats when a terror-causing unit is nearby. This unit... Oh, they decreased the melee attack. I mean... That seems pretty big. How do they compare to Blade Singers now? So, Blade Singers have a little more speed, a little more melee defense. They have magic attack. And wow, okay, so they're like, in some ways they're outclassing Blade Singers at 300 gold cheaper. Yeah, that feels like not a good change. I don't know why they did that. Yeah, this unit is going to be oppressive. That's going to be way too strong. I guess they left the best for last. Yeah, yikes. Oh, that's interesting. But why did they give it Stalk? Yeah, Jesus, this unit is going to have to be... is going to have to be banned. Like, that feels way too strong. Or limited, at least. Okay, and the Wild Hunters of Kurnos, they got their nerf, but the High Elves one didn't get the nerf, and the High Elves one is better. But okay. Osirians got a little bit of a cost increase. That's good. All right. So what else? Some mostly not big changes, but this Wildwood Rangers change is humongous. Like that's gonna really change the faction. Um, yeah. Okay. Anyways, so onto abilities and spells. I frequently don't know all of the names of these, so oh my gosh, there's so many of them. Um, so I'm not gonna know like what all of these do up front without checking later. But I'll just talk about the ones that I do know. Kraken's Pull got a little bit of a buff. I think that's fine, not a big deal. Dreaded 13th is shorter range, that's good. Flensing Ruined, a little bit more expensive. I think that's a good change. Black Whirlwind, first one that I'm like not really sure what it is. And some of these spells I don't know what they are because they were bad to begin with, so the fact that they've gotten buffed is kind of like reflected in that. Mantle of Gorok. Which one are you? Beastman spell. I think it's like a buff. I guess it's good. Arcane Unforging. Yeah, I mean, like most of these I just like I don't really even recognize the names of these because they're not used that often. But Fiery Convocation decreasing, I think this is nice. Tempest cost decrease, I think that's unnecessary, but sure. Not upset with that. Curse of Hashut is fine. I think this is like a Spirit Leech. That's fine. Hellhammer is still probably not that good. The Maw, probably good. Maw is like almost a useful spell. Toothcracker, probably also good. Curse of the Leper is good. This change is good. So it's a lot of buff spells so far, like situational buffs that are getting like maybe more balanced relative to the damage spells. Fleshy Abundance, number of affected units. Ooh, I don't agree with that change. Now it only heals 4 units. That's a really big nerf. Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that change, just because it's like Nurgle's entire thing is that they can heal with this one spell that's really expensive. And 4 is not a lot of entities, so yeah, maybe it's okay, but not a huge fan. Hysterical Frenzy, this is the Slanesh like damage buff, so that's probably good. Probably fine. Pivane a little bit more expensive. That feels appropriate. Alright, this is the Glean Magic one, the one that's supposed to be kind of controversial. So, Glean Magic, we have the... Okay, well, if they're going to buff it, at least increase the cost of the winds, which is fine. But increases spell mastery 15%. I actually like that. But then silenced. So, I mean, let me think cautiously for a second about this spell. With Kairos, this might be excessive. Because, yeah, like you'll be silenced for a period of time. But the uptime is not huge. On Tzeentch, I think it's like... hold up, let's see. With Glean Magic, the duration is 23 seconds undercasted and 45 seconds overcasted. So how much did they increase the... But the thing is, because they nerfed it, the spell was already like kind of not worth it in terms of just the like math of how much magic you get. So it's probably going to be even less effective for that, but because it has silenced, like it's probably also worth doing. So I think this is actually like probably a good change. I don't think that it's going to be like so oppressive that it's going to feel like you shouldn't do it. But now it's like has a place. So I would say this is probably fine. This actually would have been really useful in my like finals with out of region when he was playing Slanesh, because then I could like pick and choose when he could rampage me and like timing that. It feels like this is like a good change for like pro players or like top level players. I actually like it. I'm a fan. We'll see if it feels oppressive, but like having used the spell a lot, I think that it's not going to be as like over the top as maybe people are worried about it. We'll see though. Time will tell. Might of Heaven and Earth. I'm pretty sure this is the damage spell on Cathay. Let's just check real quick. No, Constellation of the Dragon is the one I'm thinking of. Might of Heaven and Earth. I don't even know what that is, honestly. Okay, so we'll just ignore that for now. Talons of the Night, slight decrease. I mean, I don't think this is necessary, but that's fine. This kind of brings it in line with the other vortexes. Transformation of Kadon, I think, is the summon for Manticores. I think that's fine. Savage Dominions, like more like Beastmen buffs. I don't know the factions well enough to talk about each of these. Gaze of Nagash did need this cost increase. Regrowth, they're still nerfing Regrowth. Now they're decreasing the vigor per second debuff. So yeah, I mean, I think that's good. I don't know, this is more of a Lambau thing. Soul Blight, again, like the Dark Elf spell or dark magic spells. I could check them, but like I don't know. A lot of these probably are still not that big of a deal, but maybe it'll encourage a little bit more of the buffs and debuffs being casted. Piercing Bolts of Burning. This spell has some niches, but it's good that it's cheaper. Wind Blast, more damage. I don't know why I say Vortex. It's a wind spell. And yeah, I think that's good. Like some of these wind spells feel pretty unuseful for like what they do. Maybe this isn't the wind spell. But okay, Banishment decreased. I think that's good. Probably doesn't need a huge decrease, but it's good. Honestly, don't remember what Night Shroud is. Golden Hounds can now change directions in 360 degrees, meaning that it moves roughly around the same area instead of a line. The spell is still going to be bad. I don't. It's like it's not. It just does so little damage. All right, Glittering Robe. I think this one gives armor on the metal magic. May be useful. Curse of Years. It gives silenced. I wish they did this by like lore of magic so that I could actually like look up which ones these are. Otherwise, like with the names, I have to Google each of these, which like I'm not going to do on stream. But Curse of Years, that might be in the on coast or not coast on counts. Yeah, Curse of Years. So currently it's increased cooldowns for 15 seconds with 32 seconds duration with melee attack and speed. So it's a single target spell. It's fairly expensive. No upgraded, and now it will just add a silenced. Might make it worth bringing. Gaze of Nagash, I think they already said that. Enfeebling Foe, they increased it to 4 on the campaign. Okay, Blazing Body. This is this the one for the Torox? No, that's Brass Body. Blazing Body is on Chaos Dwarves. Blazing Body. So currently in Blazing Body is like a charge, like a ramp up ability. But now it has less time. That's good. It took a long time to charge up. Shield of Chakwa. Omen of Hope. Wake of Fire. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Giver of Furious Glory. I'll have to look up some of these. They're just like so niche, and there's so many of them on like across so many different rosters that it's hard to like know where each of these are. I think I'll have to see like which are more impactful in the long run. Killing Fire is the passive on the lore passive for the Lore of Hashut, I think. So maybe that'll be a little bit better. Dwarf Rum, this is the one on the ROR. This is the one on the ROR Slayer Pirates. That's a good change. Sour Discharge is the Sour Guts damage. So they've like balanced how it works. Basically, they've made it less AP. It's good. Flame Incarnate. I don't remember. Locus of Change is on the Slanesh roster. That's good. Yeah, I mean just like a lot of small changes for like these like chosen effects. Yeah, I think some of these are like the demon effects. Like it's like a affects the allies in range. Like Virulence is on the Nurgle roster, increases damage. So I mean these are like useful for the factions. Reduced penetration on the arrows of Kurnos, so they're still good at sniping artillery, but they're not so good at killing units, which is good. This was the change they mentioned. Rune of Hearth and Home, decrease the vigor, it's useful. Black Nimbus is the Black Coach. These are all Black Coach changes. Arc of Sotek. This is the snake thing that comes out of the ground. These three abilities now damage via a stationary vortex rather than a contact effect. These contact effects replicates the effect of poison, but since it's being applied stationary, it means it can stack with regular poison. Huh. Okay. I don't know if this overall means they'll be weaker, but with the extra poison, that's interesting. So there's like 2 levels of poison. And then these items, again, like a lot of these are campaign items, so some of them are not. Like this is on the Norsika roster, I think. But yeah, okay, so just a comment on things overall. I would say the factions that have benefited the most from this, a lot of like nerfs across the board, some small buffs here and there. Most of the top factions that have been like kind of annoying seems like they've gotten nerfs, but sometimes not always enough. Mostly I think factions will play very similarly. I don't think that there were a lot of changes to like the ways that factions will play. But the big outlier is definitely the chariots, and it's to be determined how the chariots how those changes will impact them. And yeah, I think most of these are in like the right direction. A couple of them are a little bit like overblown. I think the ordering of factions will change slightly. I think more things will sit kind of around the middle. But there are a couple like big standouts, such as like I think Wood Elves will probably stay at the top with that Wildwood Ranger changes. And then yeah, a lot of like small changes in other places. So yeah, I think overall, say this patch feels not incredibly impactful, but it feels like it's pushing it in the right direction. And the one big variable is the chariots. The chariots could make all of this like completely change the face of the game. So waiting to see how they actually perform, and yeah, we'll go from there. But thanks everyone for listening in. Definitely leave any comments, because like obviously at the units at the end, like I didn't know a lot of those. So if there are any like interesting things there that I missed, definitely give me a shout out. I'll look at all of those later, but they'll take a lot more attention to like figure out what each of those are. But thanks for listening. Thanks for listening, and talk soon. Bye.